Okay, well, officially now, hello to colleagues who are online. It's very nice to have you in the parallel session. And thank you to colleagues who are in the room. And so we decided to have this event hybrid as we usually did in this project. So let me just give you a brief introduction why we are here and what our project is about and what's the purpose of the parallel session today. As you know, this is the EXtremeClimTwin project, which is in its final year, and this is the final conference. But the fact that it's a final conference, it only means that the new beginnings are upcoming. And it's wonderful to go through the sessions today and see the people and actually be aware how much has been done so far. And we did a lot of sharing because there was one good side of pandemic. It just brought this opportunity of having the hybrid sessions that are going online and reach out to the research community and community of research managers and supporters. So that was one brilliant thing. Now, after 32 months of the project, we are wrapping it up, and concrete part of the project was upgrading and capacity building of International Relations Office of the Faculty of Sciences, University of Novi, where we are sitting today. And that was the first ever brilliant thing that happened to the Faculty of Sciences. And I'm in particular on the receiving end, and my colleague from the International Relations and Project Office. I will give you more sentences on the Faculty of Sciences and the entire setup later on. But I just want to say that we did so many workshops, we did many webinars, we covered a wide area of topics which turned out to be priority areas when we did the first survey and the needs analysis of the researchers and the research community in this faculty. All in all, this project brought together the researchers and all supporting offices at the Faculty of Sciences. And that's also the idea, to strengthen the capacities internally, to connect the people, and to actually open the eyes to the supporting offices, what more can be done and what actually can be provided for the research community, and be there for the researchers, because we're pretty much aware that the research community is overwhelmed with the need to do great research, to be visible as a researcher, but to be an all-around person at the same time, to be the research manager, to be the one to find the call, to be the one to implement the project, and to be a superhero in a way. So having a strong research supporting office is a must, I believe. And besides what we are doing here at the faculties, especially the faculties of University of Novi Sad, which have the twinning projects, we're really trying to capitalize on the fact that this fine-tuning and transfer of knowledge brings a lot of joy to both sides, the research supporting community and the research community. And this is the win-win situation for us. It has been win-win so far, and I just see it flourishing in the future. I'm really happy that today we have our dear colleagues from University of Loughborough, United Kingdom, who are a valuable partner in this project and the ones who are in charge of transferring the knowledge in this particular area, in research support and management. And I'm glad to present my dear colleague, Adam Warren, who is a research manager, and my dear colleague, Alpa Mistry, who is a research support officer. So two people working together and coming from the enterprise of Research and Innovation Office of the University of Loughborough. When we started the project, I know that there were 80 people at the office. So it's a variety of roles, very neatly distributed. And it was nice to see how teams can work together and to learn from them. So my idea when we started collaborating was to make University of Novi Sad Faculty of Sciences a little Loughborough. And this idea is somehow unfolding, and I really love it, because we cannot be as big as they are, but we can downscale what they're doing. and try to emulate the good things, because sometimes good things are just easy to copy. You don't need a lot if you have the will, the commitment, and the right people on board. So the topic of today is actually those 5 things that can be provided for the research community for today. And for tomorrow, we're going to do a little bit of hard work on budgeting projects and comparing how we do things and how our colleagues do things. The first session that is going to be presented by Adam Warren is how to establish, run, and keep up to date an internal training program for research community. It's a case study of Loughborough University Research Innovation Office and their training program. This would be brilliant if in a month or in a year's time, this Office of the Faculty of Sciences can offer a steady training program for research community, be it in IPR, be it in project management overall, be it in any of the topics of interest. I would be a very happy person, and I'm looking forward to that moment. Adam, the floor is yours. Please share your screen, and we're starting with the first presentation.
Okay, so
there is one thing I want to say while Adam is sharing. Please feel free to interrupt, to ask questions. We are ready to share, and this is what we're here for. So just don't hesitate to ask questions. Unmute yourself, and please be brave and ask whatever we can help with. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Goga, for that generous introduction. I do agree that a research support team is a must. I would say that, but we are a vital part of the infrastructure that helps the academics get the funding and then make the best use of the funding when we get it. I'd like to thank Goga and Miroslav for hosting me today, and my colleague Alpa as well, and for your generosity and your time. And I particularly enjoyed the drive here yesterday, which entertained us with the music and the history as well. So that was wonderful. Just to give a little bit of context, I've actually joined the program, Alpa as well. I've joined the project in the last 12 months, and a lot of the early work, much of the early work was done by our colleagues, Claire Edwards, who has now moved on to Leicester University, and Adam Wood, who has moved on to Warwick University. So we're really just picking up their work in terms of this project, but obviously we're very happy to share the learning, that's the things that we think we do well, and pass them on to Novi. So this presentation, as Goga said, is a case study of our training program at Loughborough University, and I'm just going to start with a brief introduction about what I do and what my role is, and then go on to talk about how I came to oversee the training program. I'm going to look mainly at the screen here, but I will look at the people in the room as well. So I'm a research development manager. I've been in that role since 2015. Initially, I was based in the School of Business and Economics, and then in late 2016, I moved to the Central Research Office. And since then, I have supported Loughborough University London, which has about 45 academic FTE. You can see the London campus there on the left of your screen with the big building with here East on. That used to be the broadcast centre for the 2012 Olympics. That's where the main media companies were based. And behind it, you can see the Olympic Stadium as well. So it's a great location in East London, and there's a whole innovative quarter which has been set up there in recent years. And there are other universities based there as well.
Excuse me, može neko samo da mi potvrdi da li se slajdovi Adamovi odvijaju kako treba? Kad on pomera, da li? Ne,
samo prvi se vidi.
Da, još smo na početnom.
Da, they cannot see the slide. Yeah. Izvinjavamo se, samo mutujte kad god je neki bug, da probamo da rešimo na licu mesta. Mhm. Slideshow, yeah.
That's not coming up, no.
It's not coming up. no?
It's not either.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No.
And somebody else got control of the presentation, is that? Do I need to use Miroslav's?
No, he's not a host. No, no, then it should be yours, yeah.
Let me try to clear the screen.
Okay.
And we'll-
No, it's not good. Yes,
It's
yeah,
green
yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, da, okay.
Working now.
Hvala vam za strpljenje, okay, idemo.
Okay, so continue, you should now be able to see the two schools that I worked with. So Loughborough University London on the left, the building with here East on top is where the school is based. We share it with other places, including University College London, London Arts College, British BT Sports have a base there as well. So that's where I spend some of my time supporting academics there. And that's a multidisciplinary school that covers media, communications, design, business, engineering, just digital engineering, ICT, cyber engineering as well. So that's a really interesting place to be based. And behind it, you should now be able to see the Olympic Stadium as well, where the 2012 Summer Olympics were hosted. On the right-hand side, you can see the business school. I've supported that one since last year. I say I initially supported the business school in 2015, but now I support two schools again. So I support business school, which has about 100 academic FTE. And although they mainly research in management business, we've also got people there who look at psychology, workplace psychology, also people who's work in ICT, and some people who work in information management and library studies as well. So there's also a cross-section of disciplines in the business school. And behind the business school, the Reddish building is the research office where we're based. Okay, so just to ask, I don't know if this will work in terms of interaction, but how many people in this room actually work in a research support function? Are you able to put your hands up if you're online?
Please, just unmute yourself and just reply.
Would you be so kind to repeat the question? How many?
Yes. Can you raise your hand if you work in a research support function in a research office?
Yeah, so Vladan is, yeah, they have the twinning project, so he will be sharing his role. Three participants.
Right, that's good. Other questions you can, put down your hand. So if you're working, obviously that answers that question there, you support research funding applications. Does anybody in the room train academics in developing research funding applications?
No.
That's a no.
No.
Doing push-ups, huh?
Okay.
All right, okay.
Right, well, hopefully this presentation will be of use for the latter. So, is it moving? Yes. So I'm going to talk about our training program, and it is an annual integrated training program for research staff in proposal development, grants management, and also commercial applications of research. We have a partnership development team which look at the business-facing side of things, and we also have a commercialization team which focuses on turning research into spin-outs or patents or other commercial entities. So we have those teams and we bring them on board. The training program commenced in 2018, so it's been running about 5 years. It's mainly aimed at academic and research staff, but we do open some selected courses to PhD students, because at the moment there's a little bit of a gap where PhD students, particularly those who are applying for fellowships, don't really have access to any training in terms of how to apply for a fellowship until they come to actually do it for real. So I've opened 1 or 2 courses to PhD students as well. So in terms of who we're training, Loughborough University, by UK standards, is medium-sized, small-medium university. It's got just under 800 academic staff, so that's tenured faculty. Also about 250 research staff, so they're research associates, most of whom are probably working on a funded project, and also research fellows. And the university sometimes directly employs research fellows. We have doctoral prize fellowship, for example, where we recruit about 10 a year. It also has about 1,000 postgraduate researchers. Most of those are PhD students. We've got some master's research students as well who are doing MPhil. So it's a reasonably small university, but it is spread across 2 campuses. The main campus in the East Midlands, and then the Loughborough campus, which has about 45 academic staff, full-time equivalent. So this is the REO Training Program. This is what we intended to run during the current academic year, which finishes on the 31st of July. So there's 11 courses, as you can see on the right there, and they run through the whole life cycle from introducing people to UK funding landscape to how to apply for research fellowships, either early career or mid and senior career. There's stuff on partnership development, also courses on writing proposals for UKRI, UK Research and Innovation, which is the main UK research funder. And we've got 2 courses there, one for people researching engineering and sciences, and another one for social science, arts and humanities. It covers, as I say, most aspects of research development. It also looks at the peer review process and responding to peer review comments as well, if you're asked to respond to those. Some courses were suspended this year because of changes to the process, and I'll probably come back to that later on. But that's how we run it on an annual basis. So why develop it? Why did we go to the trouble of doing this? I think 5-6 years ago, it was very clear that funder expectations had changed, certainly centrally with funding councils. They expected universities to only submit the very highest quality proposals, and some were implementing sanctions for submitting weaker proposals. So, for example, the Natural and Environmental Research Council, NERC, if your success rate is below 1 in 5, then you're restricted in the number of applications you can submit in a round. So there are sanctions like that. Also, some research councils do write warning letters as well if so many of your proposals are below a certain quality threshold as well. And years ago, we did have 1 or 2 of that. Was a very long time ago. So that does happen. So there's definitely a stick there, incentivizing us. Also, proposal development and writing is a unique skill set, as Gordana will testify, and other people who work in the research office will testify. And it's very different from writing academic papers. And we can tell if somebody's inexperienced in proposal writing first when we see the first draft, and we get to the bottom of page 1 and we still don't know what we're planning to do with their project. So it is a very different skill set. You have to be clear from the first sentence what it is you're going to do, why it matters, and how you're going to do it. You really have to grab the reviewers within the opening paragraph. And also, at that time, 5 years ago, so there was little or no training provided to researchers in this area. In fact, training had been generally quite ad hoc, on a case-by-case basis. It had been reactive if a call had come out, or if a new European funding program was coming out, then maybe we would do a one-off training session or an information session. So it wasn't systematic, and it was very much dependent on the skill set, the expertise, and the availability of certain research development managers and academics who we asked to help as well at the time. So if we had somebody who had an international focus who could help, and there was an academic who had funding in that area, then we'd run something, but otherwise we wouldn't. So I wanted to make it more systematic. And yeah, I've said a lot of this here, but yeah, the purpose was to ensure that the training was certainly consistent, that it met researcher needs in terms of submitting high quality proposals, irrespective of your career stage, that is available to researchers across both campuses. And that was a bit of a challenge with the 2 campuses being over 100 miles apart. And that is likely to result, obviously, in the development of outstanding, highly competitive research proposals which would get funded. That's the ultimate goal. So, in terms of developing it, I think Goga mentioned that maybe they'll get something up and running next month. It's taken this long to develop what we've got. So we started in the first quarter of 2018, and it was my colleague Claire Edwards who largely drove this in the first year and a half. So a working group was set up, and I'll go back to that in one of the later slides, and the needs analysis was done, and that took a period of 4 to 6 months in total. And then the first version of the course was run from the second half of 2018, so from October 2018, start of the academic year, and it ran for 1 year until June 2019. And then I took over, I refreshed some of the comments and some of the content and cut down the number of courses. And then we run the second version more or less to the end of this academic year. So run it for 4 full years. And we're now at the stage where we're reviewing it for a number of reasons, partly staff changes, but mainly because of changes to the funding schemes that have been implemented by UK Research and Innovation in the last 6 months or so. And then we'll launch a second version, and we'll start to roll it out iteratively from this October. So that's a brief timeline. In terms of setting it up initially, I would say my colleague Claire did a lot of this work. A working group was founded, terms of reference, and there's membership. And it was led by the then director of what was then known as the Research and Enterprise Office. So that was Jen Benson. And it involved some research development managers, organisation development who are in charge of the general training offer to Loughborough University, and also people from the library as well, because we have 1 or 2 courses on metrics and research excellence. So it was useful to have those people involved. And its purpose was to define the training programme aim and also the learning objectives for each of the courses. So that was quite a bit of work. So the overarching aim there was to provide consistent training to academics on a regular basis on the research proposal development process. And the first thing they did was undertake a needs analysis. So we defined the key stakeholders, and the people we mainly work with are the academics, so the 800 or so RTE staff, and the research staff, which is about 250 or so of those. There's also PhD students, but at the time, the doctoral college tended to train PhD students, so we didn't really get involved too much in that side of things. There were stakeholder surveys undertaken. I undertook one with the Loughborough London researchers, and I got a good response rate, and we gave them areas that they would want to see training on and how they'd prioritise them. And there are various informal conversations. Mainly they were with the associate deans for research. So each of our 9 schools has an associate dean for research. It was then who's a senior academic who's in charge of driving research strategy and also encourage developing funding opportunities for that particular school. And they usually work closely with the research development manager. Yeah, so those were the informal conversations, and also with some of the senior academics who had a long track record of funding as well, to see what they would value and what they would recommend in a training package. So we align that to the content and the learning objectives. And so I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail, but just say the training programme, the initial iteration, it was coordinated, as I said, by my colleague Claire. There were 21 courses in total, led by staff across the then Research and Enterprise Office. All of them were run in person. I don't even know if I've heard of Teams in 2018, 2019, but it certainly wasn't widely used.
Ancient times.
Yeah, so ancient times. So in terms of London, I'd go down in person to deliver courses with 1 or 2 other colleagues, and we'd do like 3 or so in an afternoon. So that's how we covered off London, and they covered multiple aspects of the research development cycle. So this was the programme. There's 21 courses that we initially ran, and it does cover lots of things. So we've got things like how to turn your idea into a proposal, which is pre-proposal stage before you even identify the proposal, and you've got that up to stuff about REF. Research Excellence Framework, which assesses the quality of the research that we do, and also open access as well, for enabling the outputs from your research project to be accessible to a wider range of audience as possible. So there's also something that's a little bit dated, looking back at it now. So the Global Challenge Research Fund was a really big thing 5 years ago. The UK government put over £1 billion into that. It's more or less wound down since then, but that's about helping scale up research with less developed countries. So there's a good reason to have that in there at the time. Pathways to Impact used to be a separate section for research proposals which were submitted to UK Research and Innovation. That disappeared in 2020, but again, 2018, it made sense to have a separate course on that. The project budget is important. That's been subsumed into the management course that we now run. And impact, publications, finding collaborators, ethics, there's a lot there. So it was divided between the 60 or so staff. It was mainly the research development team who took ownership of this, but we did bring in colleagues as and when required.
And if I may add, it's brilliant that much of these was implemented through our workshops and webinars.
Good.
It was shared in this project, and Claire and Adam, before you two joined, they delivered many of the topics.
Okay, so I just want to look at one course that we did in detail, just to give you an idea of how we framed it. So this is one that I designed with a colleague called Grace, who's still part of our team, and this is on developing your projects team. So this was delivered in person in October 2018. We decided an hour would be enough. We came to regret that. We thought an hour would be enough to deliver the training. The target audience were early career researchers. The number of attendees, and this was, I'd say, pre-teams, there were 10 attendees who turned on more registered, but we had 10 who were present in the room. And the objectives were there. These were predefined by the working group that we had. So this was the brief we ran to. So defining collaborators and project partners, and for UKRI, they mean different things. So collaborators are your academic collaborators, which come from other universities as well as Loughborough, and project partners are your non-academic collaborators who tend to make a contribution to the project. They don't tend to take money out, but they contribute either cash or staff time or facilities to the project, and you usually need the letter of support from them in the proposal. The next objective was to identify mechanisms for finding collaborators and project partners, then to identify specific contributions that could be made by project partners, and we had an exercise in the course for that, and I'm going to come on to that. Also, to demonstrate the need for a well-crafted letter of support, because project partners do generally need to provide a letter of support, which needs to be on headed paper, it needs to be signed, it needs to be dated within 6 months of the submission date, and it needs to state very explicitly what the contributions are. It can't just say, we think this is a really good idea, we support it. There needs to be usually a bullet pointed list saying that we'll contribute senior staff time for 4 half days at a cost of, say, £1,000 per half day, or an in-kind cost of £1,000 half day, or we'll let you use this supercomputer for 5 days of cost equivalent commercial rate of £1,000 a day. So you need to be actually quite specific about the cash value of contribution of any in-kind contributions. And on the application form, certainly for Engineering Physical Research Science Council, there is a box where you put down the cash equivalent amounts. So it does matter. So we looked at that. Also, the other thing to bear in mind with the letter of support is that it has to go through the internal sign-up processes of the industry partner, and you have to build in time for that, because that is often out of your control, and you can't leave it. If the deadline is early September, you can't leave it until middle of July to try and get that letter, because it may take it beyond the deadline. So we asked them to do that, and also then apply this knowledge to their own projects, so to get thinking about their own projects as they did the exercise. So this was the outline based on the objectives for that particular course. So we did the instructions, we did the definitions which I mentioned, so project partner and collaborator, and consultant again means something different for UKRI as well. They can be paid from the project, but they need to be doing a specialist task which can't be done by an academic. And So it can't just be somebody's friend who's also got a company set up, which they can use to acquire an extra income. It cannot be that. So it has to be something specialist, and it has to be justified. And the other thing to bear in mind with consultants for UKRI is they only get paid 80% of the cost from a grant. So the other 20% has to come from the project overheads. So it has to be costed very carefully, which is where the research support team come in to make sure that that is affordable. And the amounts clearly have to be kept relatively low as well. So there's that in consultant. Also, we looked at how to approach and then manage project partners, when to involve them, need wait time as well, to ensure there's plenty of time for them to get their internal sign-offs, and to be absolutely sure, even before you invite them, what it is you want from them. Because once you invite somebody, it's very difficult to uninvite them if you think they're not actually suited to the project. We looked at the scenarios, which I'll come on to the next slide. Then we asked people to report to the whole group, and then we wrapped up. And the course materials, etc., were sent to people post-session. So these scenarios, we had 3 of these. We split the group into 3 tables. We allocated them a funding scheme from 3 different disciplinary funders. So ESRC, Economic and Social Research Council, EPSRC, Engineering Physical Sciences Research Council, AHRC, Arts and Humanities Research Council, and a topic. So for the group with the EPSRC, we asked them to imagine they were applying for research grants to investigate a particular aspect of connected and autonomous vehicles, which at the time there's a lot of money being put into that. It's more directed towards AI now, which follows on from this, but CAV, connected and autonomous vehicles, was a particular funding stream, fruitful funding stream at the time. We asked them to assume the role the applicants have said, and we asked them to identify their preferred non-academic project partners, how they might find them, and consider their contribution to the project, either cash or in kind. And then we asked them to write down the responses and report them back to the group. So this was the scenario that they actually saw on paper there. They were to imagine they were a principal investigator, 7 years post-awarded PhD, who had also received an early career grant 5 years previously, and clearly this person was high flyer. They'd also received Royal Society Fellowship as well. That the discipline they're applying to was ICT, focusing on artificial intelligence. EPSRC split into multiple discipline groups, and the topic was using AI to enhance safety features of connected and autonomous vehicles. The project duration was 4 to 5 years for this scenario, and the budget, which even back then probably was a bit mean, was about £750,000 from the funder. There's actually no limit for EPSRC. We decided around about 750 for this scenario 5 years ago. And we put down the purpose of the scheme and the key features of the scheme there. So those lots of people were early career researchers. We thought it'd be useful to think a few steps ahead about where they might be applying for in 5, 6, 7, 8 years' time, and how they might frame those applications. So we did that, and they reported back, and and we got great engagement, and we shared. I've got okay. You able to do this? Yeah, just. Okay, great. Yeah, welcome. We just admitted somebody else. Okay, and we did that, and we circulated slides, and then we reflected on the course. And first thing, we did try to do far too much in 1 hour. We were conscious of academic time, so we didn't want to overextend the duration. But I think 1.5 hours probably would have been enough. They needed more than they had about 15 minutes, if that, on the scenario exercise. And really, they probably needed 25 minutes, maybe even half an hour on that. So we did try and squash too much in. Other things to reflect on if you are setting up these courses is the planning and administration of the course does take up a significant amount of time. And it did so back then, thinking of scenario exercises, thinking of the plan, trying to plan the times, and also we were involved in a lot of the administration as well, the room bookings, and ensuring that the room will be open, that scoping out the room beforehand to ensure it's appropriate and all that. So it did take up a huge amount of time. And at the moment, we probably wouldn't have the time to do that. So that's something to bear in mind. We did need to reach out to more researchers. Obviously, we only had 10 there, but although we've got good engagement, we need to reach out to more, especially on the London campus. The positive was that, yeah, the attendees did appreciate the course, they did ask questions, and they did go on and develop their own proposals. So in that respect, definitely a clear win with that small group, but there were a few learning points. So after the first year, say we did review and we did refresh the course. I took it over from Claire Edwards, who was engaged in other projects. And again, I was conscious, as Claire had been, of the time constraints on the participants, the presenters, and for the courses where I had them guest speakers as well. But that we clearly needed to allow some time to do the exercises. So I did decide, in consultation with colleagues, to streamline the course, to consolidate it. Some of the less popular courses were made available online rather than being run as part of the core programme. So we managed to scale it down that way. And we started to move towards online delivery as well for certain aspects of the courses, certainly some of the more procedural stuff like setting up an account on JED, our online funding portal. So there are some things that we thought we didn't really need to have a person there to tell them how to do it live. We pre-record it and put it on the server beforehand. We also decided to include the PhD students on selected courses because we do work with PhD students, particularly on applying for early career research fellowships where they are eligible. So we decided to open up a course on the introduction to the funding landscape to PhD students. Also, obviously, the course on postdoctoral early career fellowships. And because presenters were happy to, we also opened up the course on intellectual property and commercialization as well to the PhD students, as we thought it would be useful for them to be aware of that from the outset. We also revised the feedback form, and yeah, this was a useful learning exercise. We do this now by Microsoft Forms. As we run most courses online by Teams now, we drop a link into Teams a few minutes before the end of the course to try and get people to fill it in while they're still in the session. We also send the link afterwards when we circulate the slides. But where possible, we try and get people to fill it in while they're still in the room. I consulted with organisation development on the questions, and one or two they wanted to have in terms of inclusivity. So the second one, EDI is a big thing, equality, diversity and inclusion in UK universities. So the second one, the session was an inclusive environment to which to learn, was one that was suggested by them. There are other ones I'm recommending the course to colleagues. And then there's some open text ones with asterisks by them where scale responses like a scale from definitely agree to definitely disagree, and there was a not applicable as well option there. And then the final three were open text ones about, yeah, what did they find most or least useful, what were they planning to do differently, and what support do they need from us following the session and any other courses. So that's worked well. We've had good responses from that, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. People do appreciate the training on this, and they do see the benefits of it. And it's research funding is crucial to their career, so they do really appreciate what we do. So the second, so the version that I helped rewrite and rework has run for the last 4 years now, 4 academic years now. The content and the delivery has largely been stable. There's been updates where necessary, but there's not been anything fundamental. There have been challenges. COVID was the biggest challenge, and that's why we moved hotel to Teams, and we've rationalised further to get down to the 11 courses we've got now. In the last year or so, there's been a few staff changes within REO generally, so I've had to move some of the presenters around, but people have been willing to take us up, so that's not been a huge problem. Also, in the last 6 months or so, UKRI has been transitioning to a new portal for submitting research funding applications. And this has implications for bid preparation. So there's new formats. The case for support has gone now. You have a vision statement instead, and then another contact on what's called the content statement, which is in effect a boiled down version of the case for support. There's fewer attachments now than there used to be. There's still project partner letters of support, but other attachments such as data management plan, which are separate attachments, are now in as part of the form. Frustratingly, there's no current editor access. So the only person who can set up the application and write in the application is a principal investigator, which is far from ideal. It's something that UKRI are working on, and they're trying to change that before Christmas. But at the moment, the academic has to do the work, the lead academic. Even the costings, they can't input the costings. The costings has to be given to them by the research support team, and then they have to be inputted. But hopefully that will change, because it's causing a few problems and frustrations. Also, the review processes are changing somewhat as well. So we had a course on conducting peer review, and there's been some changes to that, some changes to peer review colleges. So we're looking at that course again as well. So in the round, we are now reviewing the training offer to research staff, and this is something we're going to do over the course of next year, starting from sometime in the summer when we get a few moments. And yeah, say minimum 6 months the review process, but I think it'll take longer than that, because the new funding portal is going to be iteratively changed until well into next year. We also are looking to align our review with Loughborough University review of research training, which is going on by organisation Departmental and PhD training. So we don't want to be duplicating what they're planning to do. So again, that's why it might take a little bit longer than the end of 23, which I suggest on this slide. Also, we're looking at new directions as well. So I think there will be more pre-recorded videos for some of the more process aspects where you don't really need somebody like telling them how to do it. So I ask them to look up beforehand and then discuss with us during the session. And the in-person sessions will probably focus more on bid development. We'll try and run some of them by in person again, just to try and get that face-to-face contact back. And we will obviously, as we develop these ideas, seek the views of colleagues and stakeholders on the next steps. So learning points, yeah, a lot of these are obvious, but it was useful for me to write them down anyway. Yeah, there's genuine demand and interest in the courses. They were well attended, the feedback has been positive, it's definitely worth doing, and it does catalyse the development of research proposals. There were some that were discussed there, which did end up being proposals and did end up getting funded. So it's really worthwhile. It brings together academics from across schools who wouldn't normally speak to each other. Often you've got academics in the same corridor who don't even speak to each other. So it's useful to have people in the same room together, sort of exchanging ideas. And it's a great way of raising the profile of our team, keeping us in the spotlight so academics can continue to advocate for us. And that's early career academics, new starters, and also senior academics as well, who weren't as aware of what we did. From a personal point of view, it helped me get a teaching qualification, fellowship of higher education, which I was quite pleased with, because I was used as a case study, but that's a minor thing. And the greatest challenge, as you'd expect, is time. And that's one thing that we will continue to manage. So I think that really concludes the question there. There's another view of London, that's the Olympic Stadium. Yeah. I'll leave it there. Are there any questions?
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question, but I don't want to go first.
Yeah.
I'll open the floor to colleagues in the room and online. So please.
You can type it in the chat.
Yeah, if you don't feel like speaking up, you can type it in the chat. Well, we'll just go read it through. But if there are questions, go ahead, please. This is a challenging area. I mean, especially for the faculties which are this size and universities that cannot offer something big like that. Yeah. So if nobody's speaking up, I'll use the opportunity to ask. Okay, we have something in the chat.
I'm
you.
typing, yeah.
Okay. I have two questions.
Okay.
First question is, how did you advertise that fine service provided by the research development team? And second question is, how much is it mandatory? And is it a pressure on the researchers?
In terms of advertising the training program, how do we do that? We did it two ways. One, we put it on the university internal website, and there is a dedicated page, and the list I showed you on one of the other slides is a snip from that website. So it is on there. Secondly, and probably more effectively, we emailed it around the ADRIs at the 9 schools, and they circulated it to their staff. Also, the RDMs were encouraged to mention it to the staff as well, so word of mouth when they visited, and also to circulate it independently. So those three means, and I think it was the emails and then following up with colleagues, which helps on that. Sorry,
the second question was, has it been mandatory at any point? And if the researchers feel it as putting additional pressure on them?
It's not mandatory, no. So they actually wanted to do it. So that's useful, and is finding that success. The attendance is quite high.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really great that there's a good turn up and it's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory, but they do have to, if they're on probation, they do have to submit a research proposal. So it will help. I know it helps them.
They need that training.
And if they want to get promoted, they need to have a funded research proposal. So
Right.
again,
Right.
there's an incentive. There's a soft, incentive there.
Can I go with another one? Sorry. When you did your needs analysis, did you put it out there to the entire community, or you picked up the senior researchers or postdocs? Who was your target to extract the needs?
The surveys went out to the entire community. So it's a combination, really. It was, the surveys went out to the entire community. The people in the working group included 1 or 2 senior academics. I wasn't part of the working group, so I'm not sure if the early career academics in there. But certainly some senior academics who were funded who had an idea of what training they had or wished they'd had. And also, we spoke to our associate deans for research as well, and they knew what was needed in their schools. So some schools have a lot of early career researchers, so they wanted stuff that focused on them. London has a lot of international researchers, so they wanted international opportunities, but also they wanted introductory stuff to the UK environment, because a lot of them didn't know their way around the UK environment. So it did depend. And at the other end, some of the engineering schools, they lead on big bids, so they wanted something that was relevant to writing sort of larger grants. So it's a cross section.
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No. Do you have the analytics you follow from year to year? What courses are most attended, and how many participants you have per course? And do they shift from year to year? So probably have beginner's course and some that is intermediate and advanced. And so do you have the analytics following them and then shaping your strategy, what you want to push on?
Analytics is a sophisticated term, but we do have the attendance. We do record the attendance. So we do know that. And since we started running them on Teams, then you do get the download of the people who attend the course, and you can see when they entered and when they left the room, and and whatever. So somebody's just been there for 2 minutes or been there for the whole session.
And does number change from year to year? You have more participants than you have them in previous
I think it's
year?
been stable among academics, and certainly since we run them online, you can't really compare the in-person ones because they're different, because you're dependent on people making them like that. But the online ones have been stable. The one thing we haven't managed to factor in, hopefully the review of the research staff training will help with, is PhD students, because We do admit them to 3 other courses. We keep the numbers down because some academics are uneasy about discussing their ideas in front of their students. So we only restrict them to 10 or 15 students per course. But sometimes we have a waiting list of 50 or 60 or 70. So there's a need for bespoke trained PhD students, which isn't really our role, but it's a useful thing to have. So that's hopefully something that organisation development will work on.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Since we have the colleague from the Faculty of Philosophy, and unrightfully, I don't agree with the general opinion that there's less opportunities for people in social sciences. There's a lot and equal number of opportunities for everyone. Do you fine-tune your trainings to cater to the needs of social sciences? Because you do have some of the disciplines which are in different schools. This is just to maybe streamline how you can do it, because we all reach out to research projects and external funding.
Yeah, well, we do run, the applying to research UKRI funding for social sciences, arts and humanities as a separate course, because we know the needs are separate there. In terms of the other courses, the fellowships, we think applies to either. The discipline isn't really relevant to fellowship. It's a fellowship, it's a personal award, and the funding is usually similar, whether it's engineering or arts and humanities. So it's a research grant ones that we tend to run separately. But there is a question about whether we do that going forwards, because UKRI are encouraging more and more cross-disciplinary schemes. And at the moment they've published one which is a cross-council scheme where it does have to run between researchers in different councils, and you have to make the case that it can't be funded by one particular council that falls between the cracks. So we really are looking at multidisciplinary work, and if you look at the budgets for the different research councils, you could say, social sciences and art humanities don't get a lot of money, and engineers do, but
that's not true.
There's always a role, and also, engineers need money for equipment and what have you, so, but people just look at those blunt figures and think £1 billion for engineering, 100 million for arts and humanities, is not there. But it's not like that.
I think that this interdisciplinarity brought so much it's a win-win situation. Miroslav comes from the different discipline. It's not about sciences, Faculty of Sciences, it's like all the fundamental sciences, but there's so much more, and they collaborate in a lovely way.
And often you can't get EPSRC, the engineering funding, unless you do have social scientists on the project for a lot of dedicated schemes. And the only real rule about discipline is that over half of it, or 51%, needs to be within engineering and physical sciences. The other 49% could be in other disciplines, medicine, social sciences, arts and humanities. So there are
there any questions from the online audience, please? Is it okay? Gordana, yes, please. The floor is yours.
Sorry. I hope you can hear me well.
Perfectly.
If I understood well, you have mentioned that you have set up a program of courses which are held on regular basis, but also you have mentioned some kind of form of instructional videos, or is that a plan or something you have already implemented? And what kind of approach would you recommend to a much smaller institution, a much smaller support office? Should we try to do some kind of pre-recorded courses for a while and then offer some one-to-one sessions, or to invite some experts from different institutions? I don't know.
Depends which faculty do you work in?
Sorry?
Sorry, which faculty do you work in?
It's research institute.
It's a research institute.
It really depends on what works. I think one model that does work is having some pre-recorded videos of some of the more mechanistic stuff. So how to set up an application form in the UKRI funding portal and walking through that, so people aren't surprised when they do the application for the first time. But also combine that with a live course. So some of the courses that how to write proposals for UKRI, we ask them to watch 2 or 3 videos prior to the session, and then they join us for a live session. And we ask them about the videos, and we will discuss some of the content in that session just to check they've actually watched the videos beforehand. The risk of just doing the pre-recorded videos is that people may not look at them. So that way we get them to look at them, and then we do a live session, which can be a couple of hours, where we go through the videos and also focus on proposal development. And that doesn't need to be hugely resource intensive. For the videos, we tend to put them on our learning portal, so people can access them, and that's where people put the teaching stuff as well, so the academics are familiar with that. And then they'll just join us via Teams from their office for 2 hours, and we can help them develop proposals, talk through the development process, and discuss some aspects of their proposal at a high level. And sometimes some of them want to then discuss things at a deeper level, and that's where we'll follow up with one-to-one appointments. So the whole thing is complementary, from the videos to the live sessions to the one-to-one appointments. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Good. Good, thank you for the question.
Great, thank you. Okay, Daniela, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. And while I was listening to you, I was thinking about my institute. It is a Institute for Biological Research, and we are not big, not small, in the middle. We are part of University of Belgrade, but I was thinking about how to scale down the courses, the program that you have for our needs, and how to develop them and how to sustain them in a longer period. How to succeed that.
That's a tough one.
$1 million question.
$1 million
We're
question.
still learning. That's why we're reviewing them now. We're still learning. So we find having about 10 programs, 10 courses, 10, 11 courses works quite well. I don't know anything about your institute, but we find that 10 is good for our institute, and it helps to have a combination of things that are aimed at early career, mid-career, later career, also include projects, applications, include fellowships, and also importantly include the business facing, the partnership work and the commercialization. But all that will be boiled down into 5 or 6 short courses at a small institution with fewer staff, and also some videos beforehand. I think, yeah, the main thing is to try and engage people, get them to listen, and as I say, that when people have attended live, they thought, oh yes, I can do something with this, and then we have a longer conversation and it develops a proposal, and some of those get funded, and that's really satisfying when it does happen.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. What is the current status of UK regarding Horizon Europe program?
Horizon Europe, where the UK is actively trying to associate. As you probably know, we're closer to association now than we were 6 months ago, since the winter framework was signed. And at the moment, there's haggling over how much the UK should pay in, given that we're over 2 years into the programme. So the advice at the moment is the UK can still apply as so it's an associated member, but if we get funded, we can't sign the grant agreement. So if UK academics are part of the Pillar 2 consortium proposal, we generally don't advise that they lead, because they're coordinating and they can't sign the grant agreements, then that could kill off the project. So we advise that they are partners rather than coordinators on those bigger 4 million, 5 million euro proposals. For Pillar 1 proposals for ERC grants, yes, they can apply for those, but if they're awarded, unfortunately, they can't sign the model agreements, although they could conceivably take the proposal, the grants overseas to a European country. But yes, we're still engaged, and we're hopeful that we will get full associated status, but it's taken a while.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any more questions?
Well, I would like to discuss. Well, it's a topic, but the question in the same time, and for Goga as well. What do you think, is there any discrepancy between average age of researcher, for example, in UK and EU, and in Serbia who are involved in project preparation and research innovations?
And what is a good stage of a researcher, career researcher to apply for someone?
What?
And what is the
What you-
stage of a researcher to apply for?
Yeah.
Want to go first?
Because I think that, my opinion.
Go ahead.
But that here people very late start to be interested in and very late decide to learn some skills in project preparation, right? I
Say that we're all done.
Yeah.
No, but
It's a good question.
you're very right.
It's a good question. The incentives now are, I mean, people that we tend to train are probably younger as a whole, because the university is pushing for them to apply for something. If they're on probation, I say they need to apply for an external grant.
Okay.
They didn't, and they got 3-year probation period. So, and it doesn't have to be a huge grant. It can be a £10,000 British Academy small grant, and that will count. And that's not to be sniffed at. It gets you on the funding ladder. It gets you managing a budget, and then you can go on to something bigger. You know, alternatively, they could apply to be co-investigator with a more senior academic on a larger grant, and again, that would get them experience managing a work package and a budget within that work package. So people are probably, who go on this course, are probably younger because they think they need the training to get through probation, or they need it later on to get probation promotion. When I visit the schools, particularly the business school, less so London because that's a new school, the business school, there are still, you know, some people there who are later stage career who probably didn't have to do that when they joined the school. They didn't have to apply for funding in order to get tenure or in order to get the first 1 or 2 promotions they're able to do with the strength of their publications. So there are some who maybe, you know, reader in their 50s who have never really applied for external funding. They don't have to, but now they have to. Yeah,
They need to know.
they need to now.
Colleagues.
So I do advise those, but there's a dwindling number of those. Just demographics.
They need to accumulate certain amount of funds in like 5 years through the projects.
Probation period is already good enough of a stage. So you see if you fit or you don't fit. You don't can sit still, right?
For us, it's a bit different. So in I think only associate professor and under full professor for advancements need to be a part of a project, but it doesn't say like what type of a project, what amount of money, but just be on a project.
Yeah,
So
I agree. We can always reinforce the internal rules, but that's not the point. The point is a change in culture. And this is what we have been doing through this project, because I think that we tend to pamper the PhD students too much. So they live on the will of their mentor and supervisor and stay very long, very dependent. And that's not the point. They don't have the need to go for additional courses. They don't have the need to get the skill set they would need later on. So they stay like in this baby happy phase for a long time. And then what happens? You need to move up right on the scale, and you have no skills, and that's a huge problem.
And that's the gap that's the gap we've got. The PhD students aren't really getting that training at the moment, so that's something the university does need to address.
But I can agree to a certain amount, but also I think it's good if it's mandatory. For example, the Faculty of Sciences has a strict internal rule, number of research papers for the advancement. And in that way, we became more productive. So if you make something mandatory for the PhD students and for the research staff and for academic staff, I think it could work.
Yes.
Like face to face, that will make the mindset change and
Yeah,
culture change,
yeah.
of course.
So we have to offer them skills.
Yeah, we
Exactly,
need to-
yeah.
We cannot push them on the street and say, do that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You need to open their eyes and just say, okay, there's a lot going on out there and it's free of charge, many of the
I
things.
was doing that on the fourth year of graduate studies, and students asked me if we can have some subject course for project preparation and writing.
Yeah,
So they recognize this as a priority, but still.
it's a work in progress,
We-
yeah.
We also implemented, because it's connected to tourism and not to geography, the project management course,
Mhm.
where the colleagues, for example, Biljana, Stevan, and the colleagues who are experienced in project development and development of proposals will hold the course and like do
Deliver.
the awareness at the
Right.
first stage.
Communicate.
We have communities.
Sorry.
It's fine, it's okay. Mita will join us definitely. Okay, dear colleagues, let's move on with the next presentation, which I was for like 5 minutes of fame for the International Relations and Projects Office of the Faculty of Sciences, who was on this lucky receiving end from our colleagues from Loughborough University. It's hugely important for this project and for this institution to have had the opportunity to build the skills of people who are in research, support and management, something that never has enough attention in institutions. Sometimes we even have those not nice names like administration or bureaucracy, even worse. So we are not here to stand in the way, we are here to pave the way, to open the doors and new horizons. And this is what we figured out and trying to change the entire culture at the Faculty of Sciences University of Novi. And we are eagerly sharing everything with all of you. So, as I said at the very beginning, for those of you who weren't following from the start, this is the final conference of the project, and our assessment and research support and management are parallel, but this is everything but the ending of collaboration and building new bridges and networks, because even while this project is ongoing, we received another grant where, again, Loughborough University is one of the partners, and I'm really happy to say it's Mary Curie project set exchanges. So we're moving on. We're moving on, hoping that the status of the UK will be associated country and much easier for all of us. I have the pleasure to tell you about the success story of the Faculty of Science and how we grew over the project's timeline. But before that, let me just give you a brief, for those of you who don't know us that well, let me just give you an overview of the institution so you can grasp what the starting needs were and where we were 30 months ago and where we want to be in 5 years' time, because this is somehow scale, right? The strategy that I will be talking about is 3 to 5 years. So during the project and on as sustainability that we need to provide as well. So Faculty of Science is one of the faculties of the University of Novi with around 5,000 students and 600 employees, which is a lot, 450 researchers, almost 300 PhD students, and all of them need to be on board, well catered for, provided with additional skills that they need as researchers. And this is why this faculty, and I believe any institution in Serbia, needs to have research supporting offices, or research and innovation supporting offices, or whatever we call it. At least one person that will have this special skill set to support the researchers with ideas and pre-award or post-award phase. So this faculty definitely now capitalizes on its strengths, which is interdisciplinarity and in research-oriented direction. So we are very much aware that the national funding is getting thinner and thinner, and that there will be more opportunities to look for external funding. So we are very diverse. We have 5 departments. We cover fundamental sciences from biology, ecology to physics. We have geography, tourism, and hotel management, and we also capitalize on the fact that we included the colleagues to collaborate with hard sciences as well. So Miroslav, as my colleague in this special task that we are coordinating with the colleagues from Loughborough University, will confirm this with his very own projects that he and grants that he received meanwhile. So there's a place for everyone, there's a funding for everyone, but there needs to be commitment and willingness to reach out for external funding. Because we will share the slides on the website as well as today's recording, just so you know that the links are active, so you can go there, visit the links, and find out yourself if you want to know more. So Faculty of Sciences definitely can offer more and can reach out for more external funding. We had some vague ideas some years ago that we need to go and push further into internationalization. But internationalization for us means not only going international in terms of student mobility and academic mobility on all levels. For us, it meant that we need to internationalize research as well. Not only providing the networks, but internationalizing research by reaching out and making good partnerships and joining the projects. That is why we learned this wonderful opportunity, which is now ongoing. So it started in Horizon 2020, and now it's tracking on into Horizon Europe, that we can get more access to excellence by reaching out to projects like the twinning projects that we are now implementing and why we are here for. So under this idea of widening participation, we really knew that we want to increase our science and innovation capacities, that we need to go into capacity building on all levels, that we need more international scientific projects, that we need to reach out for more excellence, not only to have these these shining stars like scattered around departments. We need to have the core of the excellence that can be the force to reckon with. We decided that we need to make stronger academia business linkages. And this is a challenge, let's say, for the time being. It's okay doing scientific projects, but we know that the European Union is pushing us towards matching the funding and reaching out for more private funding and for businesses and for small and medium enterprises. So this is another task, another level. This technology produced at the faculty needs to be transferred somewhere for the benefit of all, to make it a win-win situation. We wanted to improve institutional visibility and outreach to our international partners. So under this route, we decided that this twinning project, EXtremeClimTwin, is a good opportunity to make this strategy work. Why? Because we were definitely up to it, and we saw all the benefits of external funding. And I will just focus on the box. We definitely built our research management and capacities. We built the research supporting offices. So now it's International Relations Office working together with the legal department, with financial department, because it has to be this triangle, which is a basis for providing the researchers with sufficient support.
I think you transferred to project management office, actually.
Absolutely.
You're not like international relations, just doing the international relation, but also project management within our institution.
Yeah, definitely. But with two persons, you know, you can't spread yourself thin. I mean, there are two people at this international relations office, and we cover academic mobility and project management. I do project management more, and the colleague does academic mobility. But it is what it is. Two people will grow eventually, and I know it. We definitely raised institutional visibility and recognition. once your institution is visible on Horizon Europe websites, once your project is on Cordis database, once your deliverables are out there, known to everyone, of course, that the visibility comes as a reward, and the process is unstoppable once it gets rolling. We became aware that openness of research is very important by following the FAIR principle. So our data needs to be findable, accessible, interoperable, and replicable. And this is something that the researchers are slowly becoming more and more aware of. And we did some wonderful things like making gender equality plan, which was a requirement. So this is pretty much of a top-down approach that we have as homework, but it's a very good thing to do it because it strengthens our abilities and capacities. And of course, I just want to say that at all times, we implement around 50, 60 international projects besides the national ones, and that this network and framework collaboration agreements is steadily growing. And that the point where I would like to be in some years' time is to get rid of the unuseful networks and those sleeping partners and get more into active ones that can bring more external funding and other benefits that will follow. So as you can see, Faculty of Sciences is included in any and every possible funding where Serbia is eligible as a country and we are eligible as an institution. And this is just to give you an idea, an overview of international projects. We recognize our strengths, and this is in a way profiling of the institution with these disciplines. It's climate research, definitely. It's climate extremes, it's urban climate, it's environmental protection, it's artificial intelligence, big data, it's biodiversity. And when you go through it, you actually see that more or less it's the entire institution that is covered, and the interdisciplinarity is growing. Before these projects, I can say that the research didn't know each other. So Miroslav didn't know what's going on with Dušanka and her research, but now they have a project together, and this is one of the benefits and this wonderful spillover effect of communicating and changing the peer culture in the institution and growing. Okay, so in 2020, we got EXtremeClimTwin project, a twinning project, and it was the very first Horizon 2020 coordinating project for us. It was leap into the unknown at the time. But really, we didn't know what to expect, because if you don't start going into projects, you always think you're small enough, you'll never grow up to become a leader of the project. You will always feel better if you're only a partner with a small task. Not true, not true. So take a deep breath and take a leap and apply for the coordinating project. It's tough, but it's definitely rewarding.
Leap of faith.
A leap of faith, yes. So EXtremeClimTwin was a flagship project which brought really substantial and structured changes to the institution and much more to people and the way of thinking. The very concrete deliverable that is available online, because it's a public document, it's a little book. It's actually not very little. It has 80 pages with all the appendices and the documentation that we wanted to share with you. It's the roadmap and training plan for building efficient institutional research administrative support. And this is from the first to the last letter that we have been doing for the past 30 months. It's part of the work package management and coordination. Task Leader is our partner from the UK, Loughborough University, and so far we've been wonderfully collaborating. When we thought about the targeted stakeholders at the faculty, we actually came down to the conclusion it's the entire faculty, because everybody needs to be on board for something this big to work. It's definitely, firstly, the project office, and then financial and accounting units, and then legal office, and all other administration, faculty leadership, which is very important. Sometimes we think that if somebody gets a project, it's his project. No, that's not true. It's institutional, and support needs to trickle in from all the sides. It's very important that this person who is principal investigator knows that she can rely on everybody in the institution, and that the leadership will stand behind and offer support as well. And not only support, but recognition. That's hugely important. And this is not lacking here in this project or in the institution. I'm saying this very proudly. And of course, the research community itself. So it's the entire institution. When we were thinking about drafting this project and shaping the task and shaping the activities, the twinning ones, we knew that we need to implement and reach out and have all the results as expected outcomes. So we needed to enhance networking activities, we needed to improve excellence, we needed to raise reputation, and so on and so forth. And there was this special niche where international office and these supporting offices got a chance to grow as well. When we were thinking about shaping the activities, there is this special task 1.3 that I'm referring to on the slide, and it's the activities we did so far. And now you can see that they're all clicked, like done, and it's really nice to see that. This is our little shell in the entire project, and it's a special task with special activities stretching throughout the project. So it's from the 1st to the 36th month. These are the activities that we needed to do, to make the needs analysis, to run workshops, to have webinars, to have colleagues from the UK and other partner institutions over, to go there for specialized training, and to have this very active transfer of knowledge on all possible levels. The first iteration of this deliverable was successfully submitted, and the second one is upcoming in a month. And it nicely coincides with this conference and having more results, so we can nicely wrap it up and submit the second version. So you will be able to find the second version on the website of the project as well. EXtremeClimTwin helps us to articulate our vision, mission, and values. And this is where partners from Loughborough University offered a really helping hand. And we brainstormed a lot, we talked a lot about it. It was Claire Edwards at the beginning and Adam Woods, colleagues who left Loughborough University. And this is actually what where we want to see us in, let's say, 5 years' time. With internationally visible institution, with research-intensive institution, with seamless, so never-ending, continuous support to research community. We want to grow on all levels. We want to build more international partnerships and actually strategize the activity of the faculty and streamline where we want to go. We have the goals, we have the task forces, and this is the road where we want to go. So the deliverable helped us to streamline the strategic goals, and there are 6 of them. I will roughly go through them right now, but if you download the deliverable, you will see not only the strategic goals, you will see the timeline, you will see the indicators of progress, you will see the potential risks. So we took everything into account and decided that this is where we want to be better at in 5 years' time. Okay, so the first one was to improve spot-on research, development, and support activity from the project office. Then to develop international partnerships and collaborations, that's a must. To manage post-award effectively and ensure compliance with funder and organizational policies. This is very important because sometimes we do not understand what the funder wants from us. We do not know how to comply. We do not know how to read between the lines and understand what the task is. We want to be more out there, to advertise our success stories. Why not? We want to nurture research leadership skills through training like this one that is offered by the Loughborough University that we heard about in the first session. And we want to learn to celebrate success. We come back to sharing again, because celebrating is sharing together something that is good, that is valuable, that will inspire other people to do so. But before we articulated everything, we needed to do needs analysis. This was the starting point. So we reached out to the community of Faculty of Sciences, and through a very nice online questionnaire, nicely measured to get the best of the answers, we got a list of topics that were of interest to the research community, and you can definitely see and recognize that these are your needs as well, probably, turning to colleagues from other institutions and research institutes. So we all lack skills in internal approvals for submissions, in understanding the projects, understanding the call, finding the right call, finding the partners, putting the project together, writing some parts of the applications, and so on and so forth. And I'm really happy to say that throughout the project, we did trainings and webinars which covered these topics, and that we at least offered this initial training to our research community. I'm not going to dwell much on each of the points, but for this concrete strategic goal, which is improve International Relations Office research, development and support activity, there was a milestone which was to develop online ID form to streamline the application phase. In practice, this means that we developed a very basic, it's a very basic online form that urges, I will use the very strong word, researchers to apply for the project first internally, and to let us know what they want to do, what the project is about, which funding agency it is, which call it is, how much the project is heavy, like in budget, if equipment is needed. And this actually gives us a lot of information where the very concrete help from research supporting offices lies. Is it legal department? Is it more on the side of the project office? Is it budgeting with the financial unit, or whatever? And this is something that will really help us provide the help and know what's going on, because there was this crazy thing that you didn't know who applies for what. And then we introduced the thing that International Relations Office gets the paper with the decision of the Faculty Council that somebody is approved for applying. And that's it. I don't know what the project is about. I don't know which call. So I basically don't need to know anything that somebody is preparing the project, and it just goes below the radar, and that's not good. So this concrete step and this online form was a real step forward. I see it like that in streamlining the support. Identify the people from across the faculty, define their role. Who are the research coordinators? Who are the people who can share more with the community? Who are the people who are already successful in projects? Can we mobilize them to share and talk to their colleagues and just give them motivation and heads up about things that are worth applying for? Strategic goal 2 is just a logical step, and it was developing partnerships and collaboration. We didn't have much of these meetings, and many of them, but we use every opportunity and every possible meeting on a larger scale at the faculty to say, please share who your partners are. Can you extend it? Don't just think about your laboratory or your department or your research group. Think about other people and colleagues. Who can you connect them with? It's very important that we don't behave in a very selfish way. Strategic goal number 3 was to develop post-award management. So how to implement the projects financially, reporting wise, and so on and so forth. There are some ideas to use the software, which is widely available out there. But it's not really likely for us to happen during the project lifetime. We identify the software, which can help us coordinate the project and implement them. But maybe in some years' time, we will have enough money to buy and make our life easier.
Which one?
Hi. Adam, which one are you using? You're using
For costing,
yeah, the project internal.
CPAM,
Yeah. We can even develop our own, that's not a big deal, but it's a working, I'll just say it's a work in progress. Improving the visibility of research outputs, it's of course a very big thing, and we wanted to engage our PR or people who are already in marketing and helping visibility of the faculty, to get them on board, to get them to the meetings and conferences, just to see what's going on and spread the word. Because it's again the research community that does the advertising and reaching out to community. And all our researchers already know how to use WhatsApp and Instagram and TikTok or whatever. And it's additional work. So it again needs to come from the institution and to have a person who will be dedicated to this work, definitely. And the next goal was closely attached to Adam's first session, and it's to develop an overarching training program for academic staff that will be continuous, going throughout the year. So when a new researcher comes to the institution, she will know that, okay, January, I have the project management course of, I don't know, 7 days, whatever. The next one will be, I have this course in intellectual property rights or technology transfer or anything that is of interest to the research community. But to know that this is a scheme that will be ongoing and that you can get on board depending on the needs you have. One thing that is the next step and will be good is that we involve academics into this program. So it's not only the research supporting offices, it's the academics who can share, and it's hugely important. And of course, to celebrate success and to be again able to share and to be willing to share. And we did something like that. And I want to share a very important thing that did not ask for much resources. It was purely based on the goodwill of the colleagues from this institution. We promised to set departmental research coordinators, like a task force, who will be the extended hands of the International Relations Office and Project Office. So whenever an announcement goes out of my computer to the community, there will be this dedicated network of colleagues at every department. We have 10, 13 that will approach the colleagues directly and let them know this school is really good for you. And let's connect with the project office and sit down, discuss, and go through it. So this is a very concrete output. This is a very concrete milestone. I see it as a milestone, and I'm happy to continue with this activity. So far, we managed to have 2 events. I will show you the pictures where departmental research coordinators were the ones who shared and invited the community in their departments to join in and activate. I have to say that great output was me working more closely with the colleagues from the legal office and the accounting office, the finance and accounting office, and that we somehow directed the researchers to go and talk to these people, because those are knowledgeable people sitting in those offices. It's not the administration, it's not the bureaucracy, it's not somebody who is sitting on your back and asking the paperwork. No, it's the people who know things and can help. And this is also raising the profile, as Adam said, of the research supporting people and managers and developers and so on and so forth. When we talk about achievements further on, I again want to point out that this project and the networks that are being built right now brought new Horizon Europe grants, that the colleagues involved mobilized their networks, that there were more people interested in the Faculty of Sciences and what we are doing, that we became definitely more visible and more valued partner, because if we have one coordinating project, okay, it tells something about our strength to lead the project. And when I say that we establish internal peer review culture and internal recognition of success, I mean that there are colleagues who are now willing to do the pre-assessment of the project, so have a look at the colleagues' drafts and give their opinion. And this is something that has not been done before. I know that. Sometimes you think that the colleague will steal your idea or something like that, but that's so not true, right? So offering a helping hand and experience of the colleague means a lot, and it proved, it brought some very concrete results, right? Of course, the networks between people and building these friendship, it's friends before funds. This is how I see it. Yeah,
The term is good.
yeah, it's a great term. Yeah. For example, Tom Matthews, who gave a talk this morning, left the project early on, but stayed attached, and now he became a visiting professor at the Faculty of Sciences. And I think it's again a great thing that stays forever, right? As long as there's a good goodwill. So my encouragement to the colleagues who didn't have projects like this is to apply for the Open Twinning Poll, to think of the vision, strategy, and go for action. It's really important to step out of your comfort zone. It's tough, but it's very, very rewarding. That's my advice. So go out there, talk to people, join networks, join coast actions. If you cannot start with a project, don't have enough strength, find the free resources to work on yourself, to learn new skills, because there are so many courses which are free of charge, so you can just hopefully have enough time to learn it. And it's definitely necessary step forward. When I said that we established the lunchtime talk series, that it's a very concrete output, this is what I meant. This was the very first one, which I call a milestone, where our dear colleagues, Biljana Vasarin, who is the coordinator of this project, and our colleagues from the Department of Geography as well, very experienced project managers, gave the very first lunchtime talk, which is about their research, which is in climate change, but they gave so much more. They gave some ready-made advice. They gave some recipes how to move on if you feel stuck. So that was really great, and we were all so happy that we needed additional chairs in the room. We were afraid how things will go at the very beginning, but eventually the room was full, and it was well-regarded event. And that's why we went to the second one, where we wanted to broaden and to stop being Eurocentric and reach out for additional funding, which is generous, and it's out there. You just need to learn things where you can go for. So I decided that the topic can be a Fulbright fellowships, and we had a Fulbrighter from PhD from biology. We had a visiting Fulbright fellow from Thompson University, and I'm a Fulbright fellow myself. So I didn't give a talk. It was on the research side, but it was brilliant. And again, we had the full room and a very fruitful discussion. So it's all about sharing. And through the following slides, I just want to give you an overview of the volume of things we did. There were many events. They were well attended, both online and on-site. We started off during the pandemic, so everything was online. It was a huge burden, but it gave us more visibility and more chance to approach other people. So we invited people from other faculties and universities in Serbia, in the region. So whoever wanted to show up, wherever we spread the word, it was an opportunity for somebody to join in. We did 3 webinars, we did 3 workshops, 2 or 3 days on all the topics that we planned to at the very beginning, and that were identified through the needs analysis. Now I can say that we implemented the entire education series up to this moment. Yeah, I'm really happy for that. So I just want to share it with you. And Miroslav and I were at Loughborough University. It was a 7-day visit. It was a packed program. We went through so much of high quality information with the colleagues. It was very fruitful exchange, and we learned a lot. And we knew that some of the things will definitely be transferred straight away, because they don't ask for money. They don't ask for additional resources. They ask for different mindsets. And some of the things we just copied, and it went well so far. I was again in Loughborough this year, and it was again a 7-day visit, working together very closely with Alpa and Adam and other colleagues, meeting the colleagues whom I have already met, and it was brilliant. And as you can see, we were in the UK during the coronation of King Charles III. It was fun event, and it was friend Professor Rob Wilby who took us to his village. It's a Bradmore village. Can you imagine? Nottinghamshire, 320 people, all of them celebrating the coronation. It was something special. So these are all the added values that the project brought. And of course, I do want to give credits to dear colleagues who led the project. Claire Edwards, that you can see in the photo down there. When we were in Loughborough, we went to Leicester University, where Claire is leading the research office right now. And our dear colleague Adam Wood, who is maybe still listening, I'm not sure, he plugged into, he's there. Adam, thank you. We will continue our great collaboration. So it's so much more than doing the project, and these are the results that stay forever. And with my sincere gratitude, I want to say that in tasks like this, where you build something either from scratch or you need to build on, it's really important to have the commitment and to have the clear vision where you want to be in 3 years' time. Because if you don't know where you want to be, any road will take you there. So it's an institutional thing. It's a mutual effort, and there's a lot of communication to be done ahead, and to share and celebrate the success together. After this one, we got another 2 twinning projects from Horizon Europe, and another opportunity to build on the good things we did so far. And I'm really happy to be in both of these projects and continue my personal professional development together and along with the research community. And with this slide, I want to thank you for your attention. And just to let you know that all of us are here to help you with things. We are open to your questions now and anytime after this meeting is over. So reach out. We are out there. We will reply to the emails. We will communicate